The 11th of October 2018. Police received a 999 call.
Hello, I want to report a missing person.
Okay, who's the missing person yourself?
Sorry, she's the mother of my children.
46-year-old mother of 5, Sarah Wellgreen, was reported missing from her home in New Ash Green in the Sevenoaks district of Kent.
Is there a reason that she may have gone missing? Anything going on about it might be upsetting, or any reason you know that she might go missing?
The last reported sighting of Sarah Wellgreen was on the 9th of October, when she returned home from work.
You've got so many different emotions going through you at the time. Like, even, oh, they haven't found anything, could she still possibly be alive?
Where was Sarah Wellgreen?
What we found was no sign of Sarah. There was no physical evidence of Sarah, there was no financial footprint, and there was no digital footprint.
I'm Dermot Murnaghan, and this is Killer Britain. One Wednesday evening in October 2018, Sarah Wellgreen's son, Lewis Burdett, received a call from one of his mother's friends, first alerting him to her disappearance.
He couldn't get in contact with my mum. He'd been trying for like all day, heard nothing. Last time he spoke to her was like the night before. So I thought, oh, that's right, she's probably just ignoring you. So I tried, couldn't get nothing, and then contacted my nan, brother, nobody else could.
I was working in Guildford at the time. I was working in a hotel round that way.
Lewis called his brother Jack Burdett.
On the first day that I was called, I didn't think much of it. I mean, I tried to call her, got no answers.
I was trying as much as I could, phoning her, messaging her, trying to think of any different way to get hold of her whatsoever. Phoning people she might have been with, seen, but nothing.
I firstly put it down to that she was just having a bad day and didn't want to talk to anyone. It was the next day when Lewis and my nan came to visit me at the hotel. We sat down, went through things a lot more, and I believe I quit my job that day and we all drove up to Kent.
At that time, Jack and Lewis's mother, Sarah Wellgreen, was living in New Ash Green in the Sevenoaks district of Kent. She was living with her 39-year-old former partner, Ben Lacomba, and their 3 young children. Although Ben Lacomba and Sarah had separated, they were still cohabiting.
I phoned Ben to begin with from his mobile number. Got nothing through. It's about 7 o'clock in the afternoon, and then managed to get the house phone number, and one of the children answered the phone, and I got him to go and wake him up.
Ben Lacomba called the police.
Hello, I want to report a missing person.
Okay, who's the missing person yourself?
Sorry, she's the mother of my children. Sarah's got a couple of phones that she left, like, we're in her room. And I've looked through a phone, like one of them didn't have a lock on it, see what was going on sort of thing. And I found out that she's sort of like seeing a few blokes sort of thing.
Is there a reason that she may have gone missing? Anything going on about it might be upsetting, or any reason you know that she might go missing at all?
Like I said, like, nothing, like, obviously I found out about it, like, sort of seeing quite a few blokes sort of thing. I can only guess, really. She's got quite a complicated life, like, and it's just a bit messy, really.
Detective Superintendent Ivan Beasley led the investigation into Sarah Wellgreen's disappearance.
Kent Police first got a phone call from Ben Lacomba on the morning of the 11th of October 2018, but actually Sarah was missing a couple of days prior to that. We went straight to the home address in Basie Shaw in New Ash Green, and we searched the home address, and we found that Sarah's car was still there. We found that her handbag was still there with her purse and her cash and her cards. we found that her work mobile phone was still there. In fact, on speaking to Sarah's family and to Ben Lacomba, apart from her personal mobile phone, everything else was still at the house. That also included some of her jewellery that was still in the bathroom. So that raised some alarm bells straight away.
The missing mobile phone would play an important part in the police investigation.
We were able to establish that that phone went offline at 4:04 in the morning, the night she disappeared.
But what was really concerning Sarah's children from a previous relationship, Lewis and Jack Burdett, was Ben Lacomba's behaviour.
A couple days after she went missing, we wanted to try and see the children, and we were blocked from it. And I always thought that was a bit strange. So it was from that point where my suspicions grew a lot more, because you can tell he's obviously hiding something. So again, it raises more questions.
The way he was presenting to us was described to me by my officers as quite odd. He didn't really want to engage with us. He didn't really want us at the house, which for somebody that had reported Sarah missing and somebody that initially phoned us because he was concerned, he didn't seem to act in that way.
As the police continued to investigate the case, they noticed discrepancies in Ben Lacomba's statements about Sarah and her last known movements.
Sarah, he told us, had come home from work on the evening of the 9th of October.
She came home Tuesday night, and then we all went to bed, and then when me and the kids woke up in the morning, she wasn't there.
Right.
I've got her car still outside. She hasn't gone missing before, but it's got a bit of a weird life, let's put it that way.
Her life was looking up. She went for an interview not long before it, and she was happy about it all going well. And then she was offered the job, better wage, company car. Yeah, her life was on the up. Everything was going great for her.
Sarah was offered the new job on the 8th of October, 2 days before she was reported missing.
So our initial instincts were that the information we were getting from Sarah's family and friends was that Sarah was very happy, her future looked bright. But actually the information that we were getting from Ben Lacomba was the opposite. He was saying that Sarah was depressed, that she would take herself away, and he was worried that she may harm herself.
Officers reviewed Sarah's phone records for information that might help explain her whereabouts. The records revealed that after going to bed on October the 9th, she messaged a number of friends until late in the evening. None of the messages referred to the depression Ben Lacomba described.
It was quite suspicious that Sarah had left all of her property behind. Her family were telling us that she would never walk anywhere. She always used her car, and that was still at the home. So we were very worried right at the beginning, and we classed Sarah what we call a high-risk missing person. Had she come to some harm? Had she harmed herself? Had she had an accident nearby? Had she left and couldn't return because she was being held somewhere? Had she come to harm? Had she had an accident? Had she hurt herself? So inquiries in the local area were carried out quite quickly, and that actually became quite extensive because of the nature of it being a rural area and the kind of searching and the search teams we needed to help us with that.
Every day you believe something will turn up, some sort of new evidence, anything at all, some sort of sighting or anything. The police looked into absolutely everything.
There was nothing else to think about other than, where is she? How could she be missing? Why would she be missing?
Detectives began to look into the history and social network of Sarah Wellgreen, mother of 5, who'd been reported missing on Wednesday, the 10th of October 2018.
She was fantastic. She'd do anything for her children, no matter what it took. She'd be there for you, help you with anything you needed. Just amazing.
She had very many friends, quite a wide network of friends, and was socialising. She was always on social media. She was always in touch with her family.
Her ex-partner, Ben Lacomba, on the other hand, with whom she was still cohabiting, seemed like a relative loner.
He didn't seem to have much of a network of friends around him. He didn't seem to have anybody close to him other than his mother and his children.
32-year-old Sarah Wellgreen met 25-year-old Ben Lacomba online in 2004.
She met Ben when I was about 9 years old maybe. I believe they met through an online dating website. And to begin with, it was nice, just seemed like a nice bloke.
Ben Lacomba was living in Spain with his parents. Sarah left her job as a bank manager and flew out to Spain with her 2 children, Jack and Lewis.
His mum and his dad lived out there at the time, so we lived with them for a while before moving into our own house in Spain. It was pitched to my mum as a new life, somewhere fresh to go and start, a place where they could have their own home together, different country, everything would go well, he'd provide for her, or things like that.
Ben Lacomba had aspirations of becoming a pilot, but as with many other things in Lacomba's life, his talents didn't seem to match his ambition.
I believe he was training to be a pilot for commercial airlines, things like that. Done all the training for it, and it never took off. All he did was just work at the airport.
I don't think it took her long to realise that that was never going to happen. So as time went on, things were obviously rocky. Not that much money coming in. It was not the life that she wanted for her children.
In 2006, Sarah Wellgreen and Ben Lacomba had their first child. When the baby was old enough to fly, the family moved back to the UK.
We lived in a caravan for a little bit, for a couple of months, and then we moved to Dartford and stayed there for a little while until they could get the house in New Ash Green.
To make ends meet, Ben Lacomba began working as a taxi driver in the Kent area.
She wanted a completely different career path, so she started going to college and became a beauty therapist. She worked hard for it, and something she enjoyed doing. She loved it.
She knew that it would only be hard work for a while, and then eventually she could run her own business and end up moulding her life and work a lot easier around her children.
By 2013, the couple had been settled in the UK for 7 years. They had 2 more children. It was at this time that Sarah's 2 older children from a previous relationship, Jack and Lewis, began to notice friction between their mother and Ben Lacomba.
We used to argue an awful lot. I didn't know if it got physical at any times. I don't think she would tell us if it did, because well, then things would be an awful lot different. But she's a very capable woman, you know, very strong, very independent.
By 2014, a decade after the couple first met online, their relationship was deteriorating.
He decided to throw out the house one day, changed all the locks, things like that. And then next to go was my brother Jack. That was the day where everything probably hit its worst point. I remember the day well. Ben turned up to my school with a suitcase filled with my belongings and told the teachers at the time that I am not allowed to return to the home. And that was the first time I was made homeless. She moved into a little house in Gray's Inn. Never seen her struggle like that before, but me and Jack were there for her.
Sarah applied to the family court for custody of her 3 younger children that she'd had with Ben Lacomba. Unsuccessful and unable to maintain a separate household financially, Sarah made the decision to move back in with Ben Lacomba in the family home to co-parent their 3 children.
Everyone told her it was a bad idea.
I tried to stop her from going back there. My brother Jack and my nan as well, which is her mum, also didn't like it at all. We all tried our best to stop her, but she had no choice.
That came at a very personal cost for her.
Sarah Wellgreen and Ben Lacomba maintained separated lives, but were residing in the same house with their 3 children. Lacomba was sleeping in the attic room.
From 2014 to 2018, that seems to be a very, very toxic 4-year period. 4 years is a hell of a long time to be living in this way.
In October 2018, Sarah was approved for a mortgage, and on the 8th of October, she was offered a new job in the beauty industry. Sarah accepted the role the next day. It was the last day she was seen alive. 2 days later, on the 11th of October, Ben Lacomba reported Sarah Wellgreen missing.
Hello, I want to report a missing person.
On the 14th of October, police officers visited Ben Lacomba to find out what more he could tell them about Sarah's disappearance.
My officers had gone back to see Ben Lacomba to take more information from him and actually to ask him if they could take his mobile phone and download his phone so that we can potentially retrieve some information from that to help us find Sarah and the location of her missing phone.
The police asked to see it. Well, of course they did. Why wouldn't they? His answer, I'll bring it in tomorrow. I just need to sort some stuff out on it first of all.
Ben Lacomba refused to give us his phone that evening. He told us that he would see us the next day. He told us he'd come to the police station and we could do it then, but he needed to do some things on his phone first.
Whilst at the property, police officers attempted to retrieve more digital evidence.
They go to the house and they notice the fact that there is CCTV everywhere. They ask to see it. He tells them, oh no, it's been corrupted, the system's no longer working.
It was quite an elaborate setup. He had cameras at the front, the side and the rear of his house, all controlled by a system which was actually kept in his bedroom, which was in the attic conversion of their house. But when we spoke to Ben Lacomba, he said the system hadn't been working for over a year.
Luckily for the police, there is far less intrusive, but still very effective CCTV from the outside of the house next door.
We had 3 months' worth of footage that we were able to view, and that gave us some really good insights.
One of the things that CCTV shows is Ben's CCTV cameras and their flickering light that says they're active. And what it shows is that on the night of Sarah's disappearance, someone turned them off.
Police also discovered a gravedigger's shovel hidden in Ben Lacomba's shed. He told officers it was a Christmas present for his mother. On the 16th of October, a week after Sarah was last seen alive, police seized Ben Lacomba's Vauxhall car. That same afternoon, Lacomba attended a Dartford County Court hearing related to his and Sarah's separation.
After she'd disappeared, within a few days of her disappearance, Ben Lacomba had gone to the family court and was trying to convene an urgent hearing. Now, I wondered what the urgency was. Why did he need to do that so quickly? And the only answer I came up with was that he knew Sarah would never be coming home. From everything we were finding, the fact that I believe Ben Lacomba had turned off his own CCTV camera to hide his movements that night, that his car had been on the move, he had been away from the home over 2 hours that night, the fact that it took him a number of days to contact us to report Sarah missing. His behaviour after he had done that was very strange. My suspicions were growing. He was my main suspect, and I believed he was responsible for Sarah's disappearance. In fact, I believed he was responsible for Sarah's murder.
As the net closes around Ben Lacomba, police still desperately need to try to identify the location of Sarah Wellgreen's body. Detectives continued to investigate Ben Lacomba. Police search teams and members of the public began searching for Sarah Wellgreen.
I checked Facebook before I went to bed, like I generally do, and there was, on the village account, there was a shout out from a young man called Lewis saying that his mum had gone missing and had anybody seen her. That played on my mind through the night. I woke up about 5 in the morning and she was still missing. I checked the Facebook. So I put a shout out in the morning saying, is anybody free? There's a missing lady. Fancy going and having a little look for her.
The effort the community put into helping search for my mum was absolutely insane. Like, I never expected anything like that. Even from the post that I put on Facebook, how much it got shared between so many people and how far it spread was amazing. I couldn't believe it.
It was a massive shock to see so many people come out. I mean, the village has always looked after one another, but to see the extent of it was just amazing.
With little information about Sarah's movements, the search area was extensive.
Around New Ash Green, it's a complete maze of fields, trees, just wilderness everywhere. To find Sarah, it really is like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
In the first weekend, we covered a 2-mile radius of the village, and marking that on the map and every route that has been taken just was a mammoth task of logging that data every time someone comes back from a search.
Hundreds of volunteers reported each day to help search for Sarah.
Every day you believe something will turn up, some sort of new evidence, some sort of sighting, anything at all.
Detectives were unable to find any evidence that suggested Sarah was alive.
We found no sign of Sarah. There was no physical evidence of Sarah. There was no financial footprint. There was no digital footprint. There was no sign of Sarah at all.
You've got so many different emotions going through you at the time. Like, even, oh, they haven't found anything, could she still possibly be alive? But then as it goes on and on and on, and more ends up developing through with the police and things like that, then obviously you come to a realisation that that's not the case anymore.
Very soon, in very few days, we were told that, it was not a missing person, it was being treated as a potential murder. So we kind of pulled everything back and started again, because we were now looking differently. We were now looking not for somebody that dragged themselves off the road. We were looking for where somebody could be dragged to. So our search went out to 10, 15 metres either side of the road, and we were marking off where there was a track or a path that could have gone further, could have vehicle access.
Ben Lacomba's behaviour throughout this time was confusing his neighbours.
We were really baffled with Ben when, about day 3 or 4 of our searching, he went into the village office to book the village hall he ran kids' war games with these foam guns. And we thought that was completely bizarre. There's half the village looking for the mother of his children, and he's trying to arrange a kids' game in the village.
We all had our suspicions beforehand, but obviously investigations have to be done and things take time, which are annoying, but that's the way things work.
On the 16th of October, a week after Sarah was last seen alive, detectives had the evidence they needed to make an arrest.
You are under the arrest on suspicion of murder of Sarah Welgreen.
I read online that somebody had been arrested for it, and my first instinct was Ben. Like, it couldn't have been anybody else. And that's when things started becoming a lot more serious.
Late that night, police began what would become a series of interrogations regarding Ben Lacomba's involvement in the possible murder of Sarah Welgreen.
You're here on suspicion of murdering Sarah Welgreen.
We interviewed him a number of times. In fact, we had 7 hours worth of interviews with Ben. Throughout all interviews, he remained silent. He refused to answer any questions.
We believe she may be dead, and that may be at your hand. So, did you kill her?
Ben Lacomba remained silent for 55 seconds.
So, I'm not clear at the moment, Ben, whether you're just trying to think of an answer or whether you've decided not to answer the question.
He didn't say no comment. In fact, he just stayed absolutely silent and stared at the floor. For somebody that was innocent, somebody that had nothing to do with Sarah's disappearance, somebody that had phoned us with concern that she'd gone missing, for him not to help us was really strange. I had strong suspicions that Ben Lacomba was responsible. But at that stage, Ben Lacomba was released on bail and we continued our investigations.
Ben Lacomba was interrogated for 3 days but refused to answer any questions. Detectives had no choice but to release Ben Lacomba from custody.
You can only assume that Ben is relying upon the lack of a body here to guarantee that he doesn't get charged.
Investigators were gathering more background information. They returned to the neighbour's CCTV for further examination.
Pretty much every day, Ben Lacomba would come home and he'd park his car in the car park right next to his house. I call that car park 1. The day that Ben Lacomba came home from work on the 9th of October, he parked his car in what I call car park 2, and that's behind the neighbour's home address in an area that's not covered by CCTV. It's quite dark there, and an area where Ben Lacomba could still get to his house but without being seen. And I wondered, why did he not park where he would normally park, right by his house?
Why? Why do something so unusual, so different, unless you have something you want to get from the house to the car?
For DCI Ivan Beasley, there was only one possible motivation for Ben Lacomba's actions.
I believe he parked there because he purposely didn't want to be seen that night. He purposely didn't want to be captured on CCTV, removing Sarah from that house and taking her away.
Beasley felt he had a much clearer idea of exactly what happened that night.
We know from CCTV that Sarah came home just before 8 p.m. on the 9th of October. We can see Sarah parking her car next to her house, and we see her going into her home address. That's the last time anyone saw Sarah, apart from her children and Ben Lacomba.
The neighbour's security camera clearly placed Sarah at home with her family on the night of her disappearance.
I set a CCTV strategy with quite wide parameters to scope what footage we may find from people's home addresses, businesses, or from the local authority CCTV, to see if I could find anybody that had come to the address or had left the address, and if so, where they'd gone.
Another neighbour's CCTV revealed more. At 2 a.m. on the 10th of October, Ben Lacomba got into his red Vauxhall Zafira car and drove away.
I knew that the account that they'd given us, that he'd just been at home asleep all night, was untrue. Ben Lacomba had been out in his car for over 2 hours the night she disappeared. You can travel a long way in 2 hours. He could have left Kent itself.
CCTV also showed that when the car was first parked there, it was pristine. When it returned from wherever it had gone, it was covered in mud. The next day, he had it cleaned again.
Police trawled CCTV cameras across a 7-mile radius for the crucial 2 hours where Ben Lacomba is driving in his distinctive red Vauxhall Zafira taxi on the night Sarah had disappeared.
He came out of his immediate neighbourhood of Bays's Shore and went down a rural lane called Hartley Hill, which then led him on to Hartley Bottom Road, which at night it's never used. And then he ended up on Moorhouse Road in Stansted and finally Plaxtall Green Road. And then that's the last sighting. Unfortunately, after that point, there's quite a large gap between where there would be the next CCTV coverage, which we know he didn't hit, so then there's a huge area in between that.
The distance that Ben Lacomba travelled that night encompassed a vast expanse of uninhabited areas, a country park, a golf course, and countless fields and wooded areas. For Sarah's son Jack, the revelations were tough to hear.
So we have a 2-hour time frame of knowing how long Ben was gone off camera. All the information and the CCTV footage of him leaving, being gone for a few hours. I know the route that he's taken. I know the last point of camera that he was on before he returned back to the point and took the same route home. It was difficult to watch because I just knew my mum was in there.
CCTV footage also revealed Ben Lacomba's actions on the night of October the 14th, the date police requested his mobile phone.
After the officers had left Ben Lacomba that night, He left his home address and he drove to a town nearby called Greenhithe, which was right on the River Thames, and he threw his phone into the River Thames to dispose of it.
In this case, the CCTV was integral. It painted a vivid picture of Ben Lacomba's activities. Police were able to see that his car was covered in mud on the night that Sarah Wellgreen vanished. They also located footage of Ben Lacomba dumping his mobile phone in a river hours after police had requested to see it.
The following day, when we were trying to get hold of him, because he didn't turn up at any police station, we couldn't. Only later in the day, after he'd gone out and he'd bought an identical handset to the one he disposed of and put his SIM card back into it, were we then able to contact him.
Despite having stayed silent in his original police interview, Ben Lacomba did respond to the allegation that he'd destroyed key evidence.
He said that in the past, he'd written some messages on his phone that he hadn't sent, but it was a cathartic way of him expressing his views. And he decided that if those messages had ever been seen by the police, they might be construed in a way that might raise suspicion about him being involved. So that was his answer for why he decided to throw his phone in the river.
Sarah had still not been located. The search team continued to search every day.
We never had any doubt it was him, if we're really honest, but we did realise that we were dealing with somebody that didn't kind of think like the rest of us did. So we applied that really to our searches of, okay, well, what do we think? What do we think he thinks? How do we think his thought pattern is?
Unfortunately, what worked to his advantage was that the area has got so much vast and desolate woodland. Some of it isn't accessible to dog walkers or isn't a public walking spot, so they're quite remote, and he would have been able to find a suitable burial site in those locations. Others are more accessible to the public, but again, he could still have found a place there potentially. I personally think he's just been very lucky. He certainly doesn't strike me as an intelligent man. He's definitely put planning into this, but I think it has just been luck.
There seems to be an arrogance to this man. And it's either an arrogance or a stupidity, but it seems to smack of arrogance, because he seems to be of the opinion that if there's no body, then there can be no murder charge.
Whilst prosecutions for murder in the absence of the victim's body are rare, if there is an abundance of evidence, then they are possible. In Ben Lacomba's case, the evidence was quickly mounting, and he seemed to have no convincing answers for police inquiries.
The inept way that he went about hiding his steps or covering his steps in relation to this offence, it's inevitable, isn't it? Body or no body, that this man is going to be arrested.
The 20th of December 2018, at 6:45 a.m, police investigating the disappearance of Sarah Wellgreen visited her former partner at the house that they shared in New Ash Green. Police body cam footage shows what happened next.
Yeah, there you go. The time is 6:45. You are further under arrest on suspicion of murder of Sarah Wellgreen. This is a further arrest on the discovery of fresh evidence.
On the 21st of December, Ben Lacomba was charged with the murder of Sarah Wellgreen. He became the 18th person in British history to be charged with murder without a body.
I needed to show that there was no physical sightings of Sarah. I also needed to show there was no financial or digital footprint of Sarah. We did ongoing work with her phones, we did ongoing work with her social media. We regularly spoke to all friends, family, any associates we could find. Any potential sightings of Sarah were followed up, and we were able to rule out they weren't Sarah. There was so much we had to do and continue to do to try and show that Sarah was no longer alive. We went to trial with a very strong case, not only to show that Sarah was dead, but that Ben Lacomba was responsible for Sarah's death.
A year after Sarah's disappearance, Ben Lacomba faced a jury at Woolwich Crown Court charged with her murder. Sarah Wellgreen's adult sons, Lewis and Jack Burdett, attended court each and every day.
He'd literally just sit there, blank face, didn't move, no reaction to anything whatsoever. I hated it. I couldn't stand it. I just wanted to jump over the counter.
It is unusual for somebody to be charged with murder and tried for murder when there's no body. It is not usual. However, in this scenario, it's hard really to think of somebody who could have done more to guarantee their conviction than Ben did.
When Ben Lacomba was asked questions during his trial, he maintained that he had been at home, he'd been asleep, and he hadn't gone out. All the evidence that we put to him to show that his car had been driving, that his CCTV had been switched off, all the evidence that we put forward, he had no answer for. He just maintained he was in bed, he was asleep, he was not responsible.
The trial lasted 4 weeks. On Wednesday, the 23rd of October, shortly before 12:30 p.m, the jury retired to consider their verdict. After just 3.5 hours of deliberations, they returned.
The jury obviously were as confident as we are, because fairly quickly they came back with a unanimous verdict that Ben Lacomba was guilty of Sarah's murder.
He made it very easy for them. With all of Ben's actions, with all of these things, the stupid things that this man did, there was only ever going to be one verdict. And it was the right verdict. And it's the right verdict for Sarah.
On the 28th of October 2019, Ben Lacomba was found guilty of the murder of Sarah Wellgreen. A week later, on the 8th of November, Lacomba was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 26 years and 43 days. He still refuses to reveal the whereabouts of Sarah's body.
Every day I wake up with the same questions. I go to sleep with the same questions. We all know Ben knows.
In some sort of aspect, it brought us all closer, but there's still that missing piece, and it will always be like that. We'll always have that missing piece because of what he's done.
We had real motivation in this case, not only to get justice for Sarah and her family, but also to find Sarah. We wanted to find Sarah's body, to be able to give that back to her family.
The hardest part is that she's still, to this day, not been found. That's probably the hardest thing to actually deal with.
Each time we go out, and if we don't find her, it makes our searching smaller. There's only so many places that she can be, and no matter how long it takes, that grid just gets smaller and smaller. So eventually we will. It's just a matter of time.
We've covered so much ground, and I think we have to be getting closer. We've got to be narrowing it down.
It'd be a lot easier if he was to say where she was, but I believe he will keep on denying it, so he has a hope that he can have a relationship with his children. But as they grow older, they're going to learn what he's done, and it just won't happen. But if he is to give it up, then that's him done. No one has any more questions for him. He loses the last bit of power he has over anyone.
The community that rallied round in the days after Sarah's disappearance continues to offer comfort to her children.
It's not yesterday's news. There is still a mum out there. There's still 5 children that need their mum found.
Some people have struggled with it, and some people came off the search because of the nature of what they may potentially find. But I think for a lot of us, it's just a case of, it is Sarah, we've got to do this now for the sake of her family.
The day we find Sarah would be a very bittersweet. We would be so pleased to bring closure for the family, but it would be something that we would never forget.
It'd mean everything. just to have a place where you can bury her. And there's a place that you can actually go to if you ever feel down about anything. You've got that place you can go. Without it, you've got nothing.
There's always questions that run through your heads every day, every night. And there's only one way that they will be answered. And even when I find my mum, there's still going to be questions as to why. But we just want her found.
You're here on suspicion of murdering her. We believe she may be dead, and that may be at your hand. So, did you kill her?
Ben Lacomba has been found guilty of murdering Sarah, and he's been sentenced. The proactive search for Sarah has sadly had to come to an end. But any further information that comes out that might help us find where Sarah is, we are reviewing and reacting appropriately to.
The search for Sarah's body remains one of the largest in Kent Police's history, with more than 1,300 locations examined. At its height, the operation involved around 120 officers a day using police dogs, drones, and the Marine unit. The dedicated search group enlisted hundreds of community members who volunteered hundreds of hours of time, painstakingly searching vast areas of Kent.
You'll just get little tiny flashbacks of little memories, things like that. Even when you're looking at memories on Facebook, they come popping up. Little things like that. It does put a smile on your face, but then it does... it brings up a lot of emotion. And sometimes it's quite hard to deal with.
I'm not clear at the moment, Ben, whether you're just trying to think of an answer or whether you've decided not to answer the question.
In 2023, detectives launched an appeal to coincide with the 5-year anniversary of Sarah's disappearance, but with no clear leads. Ben Lacomba has still never revealed her final resting place. Sarah's family live in hope of laying her to rest. They still search for her.